Hello, hello. We are back with a new episode of Book Club Fridays, and I'm about to get really vulnerable. I'm like legitimately nervous, but we're just gonna go for it, okay? So, like I have mentioned in the past, I have written some romance novels on some free writing platforms. I have three books that are completed, or like early drafts of them are completed, that are all a part of one series, and then one that is around halfway finished, and then like 10 book ideas written down in the notes on my phone. I have shared about this previously in different episodes and stuff, but I have never really talked about them in depth on this big of a scale. Like, my closest friends know that I do this, but some of my clients know that I do this, but talking about it on this big of a scale really has me kind of shaking in my boots here, guys. But I wanted to share this with you because I reread The War of Art last month, and it reminded me how much resistance can take hold of us without us even realizing it. Something that I have known for a really long time is that I meant to be an author. I meant to be a writer, and a published one at that. It's a feeling that just like settles deep within me as if I don't even have to work at it. It's just like something that I know that is coming. Now, obviously, granted, it requires work to get there, but that feeling, that knowing is just deep in my bones. And every single time I work with a new healer or a mentor, they reflect back to me that writing is what I'm meant to do with my life. It is a very big piece of the puzzle and the ways in which that I'm meant to share my gifts to help raise the consciousness of the world. And I know that sounds like very big and woo woo and kind of like, scary. It is, but it's also just like something that I know I am meant to do with my life. Even now, as a grown adult, when I go back and I reread some of the papers that I wrote in high school, I was like, this has literally been in me for so long. And back then, it just wasn't even on my radar. And I mean, I have partial poetry books written, romance novels, self-development books. It's just something that I know that is a part of my present, but even more so of my future. And honestly, why I haven't talked about it more, why I haven't shared more about it is because the fear of failure, the fear of what other people will think about my work. And it stops me in my tracks. It makes me feel like some kind of weird imposter. And I don't know, rereading The War of Art once again just put it into this perspective that even if it fails, even if it sucks or people hate it, at least you're in the game and no longer on the sidelines. So here I am, putting myself further in the game. Ugh. I like legitimately, like I have never been this nervous to sit down for an episode and talk. So bear with me, guys, okay? I'm really just going to kind of tell you what my books are about. That's it. But again, freak it out a little. The first book that I wrote was on Wattpad, and that started in 2020. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this platform. The website and the app are pretty clunky, but I mean, if you're just looking for like free books to read, then you can find some really good stuff on there. If you're looking for a way to write and express yourself and it can be pretty anonymously, then hey, go for it. It was just the first one that I was introduced to, and so that's where I kind of started. I still have my profile up and still like will share stuff on there every once in a while, but just not like I used to. And so the first book that I started writing on there was just meant to be one book, and it ended up turning into a 3-book series. It is called the Someday series. And yeah, it was really fun. It's been a fun way to write and practice and get some feedback on my work from people who had no idea who I was because I wrote under the name Paige Morgan. Morgan is my mom's maiden name. And I was able to connect. I've been able to connect with so many people on that app. Like I said, even though it's a little bit clunky, it has been a really cool way to be able to connect. The first book in the Someday series is called Secrets Until Someday. And it has like 43,000 reads, which I think is pretty cool. And the second one, I think, has like 25,000, and then the third has like 20,000. So it's been a way for me to be able to share this passion, this hobby that I love. And again, also not feel so much pressure about people that I know actually reading it. Um, yeah, so they are all contemporary romance. The first one, I guess, would be probably considered young adult because it's set in a high school college setting. And then the second and the third are like 5 years later, um, after college. So some of the tropes throughout the series are second chance, best friend's brother, first love, enemies to lovers, workplace romance, and slow burn. And I'm just going to kind of give you the synopsis of the entire series and then broken down a little bit for each book. So here we go. The Someday series is an emotionally charged, slow burn romance trilogy that follows Sydney Graves and Brooks Dawson across years of passion, heartbreak, and the magnetic pull of a love that never truly fades. In book one, Secrets Until Someday, Sydney, fiery, fearless, and full of life, breaks the rules by falling for Brooks, the charming basketball star and her best friend's brother. What begins as secret kisses and stolen moments ends in heartache, forcing her to walk away from the boy she thought might be her forever. By book two, If Someday Never Comes, 5 years have passed. Sydney's built a new life far from Westville, but her heart remains tangled in a past she can't outrun. When she returns home seeking closure, she doesn't expect to collide with the man who shattered her once, and certainly not to find him more complicated, more magnetic, and still devastatingly familiar. Business, heartbreak, and unresolved tension threaten to unravel the fragile piece they both worked so hard to find. And in book three, Someday Promised, fate throws one final curveball. With futures uncertain and emotions raw, Brooks and Sydney are forced to confront the depth of their connection one last time. Amid weddings, business ventures, and life altering decisions, they must ask themselves, was someday always just a dream, or is it finally time to make it real? See, I'm like giggling because I'm so like excited, but also nervous to be talking to you guys about this. So, I'm currently in the middle of working on editing this entire series, but between everything else I have going on in my life, it has gone a little slower than I'd like, but it's just fun to see something that I started creating so long ago come to life again on the page in an even better way. It's crazy each time that I do an edit on something that I've written, how much better it gets and how my writing evolves and changes over time and how I can hone this skill in a more meticulous way. And I think, again, that's why I feel ready to talk about it more, is because I take myself more seriously now as a writer. I'm confident in the fact that it is something that I'm good at, even though when I first started those first drafts, some of the first chapters that were posted on Wattpad probably weren't necessarily that great, but I just didn't give up and I kept going and I kept finding my voice through these characters and in a way that felt fun and different and carefree. And so, again, as I'm proving to myself more and more that I'm taking myself more seriously, I just wanted to share it because why the hell not? So the next book is No Other Choice, and that's the one that I've been working on quite a bit recently and working on the first draft of it. And this book or possible series, I don't know, it could end up being two books, is very personal to me. I've been in love with someone in the past that struggled with alcohol addiction, and our relationship was pretty complicated. It was a little toxic. And because I was so young when I was in it, it just really changed how I saw love and relationships. So even though the storyline of this book is very different than my real life, the emotions that the FMC navigates are very similar to what I had gone through in the past in that relationship. The uncertainty, the anxiousness, and the ways in which I would bend my boundaries and my morals and my values constantly to accommodate another person's vices. And as I've written this, it's been really healing for that version of me because number one, I'm able to give them a different ending, and not because I wished for a different in my real life and my real story and in that relationship, but because it's helped that younger version of me find a little more understanding for the way it all unfolded. It's helped to give me closure and clarity and healing for a very young version of me that got her heart broken and was just really dealing with a lot of heavy things that, at 16, 17, 18, probably shouldn't have been dealing with, but also like learned a lot from. And I think that that's really like a great, beautiful thing because at the end of the day, it has nothing, it doesn't actually have anything to do with that other person. It has to do with what I learned from it, how it changed me, how it shifted me, and how I'm able to take what I learned from that experience and put it into perspective for my life now, and even here in real time, put it into something creative. So, and I don't know, that's what writing is for me. It's healing, it's cathartic. The different things that I've written, whether it's a book, a podcast script, or a blog post, it's all healed little parts of me, different versions of me along the way. And I think that that's why I share it too, is because the goal is to be of service to the people who read it, listen to it, consume it, and hope that if they resonate with a part of it, that it heals a little piece of them along the way too. It's again another reason why I myself read. And I think that that's just the beauty of books. That's the beauty of words. That's the beauty of sharing our stories. So, the synopsis for this book is she knew he was trouble the minute he set his crystal blue eyes on her, but she couldn't resist. Beckley Campbell was pulled under Jude Larson's spell with just one look. Their love was intoxicating, and she couldn't get enough. But after a year of drowning in Jude's destructive behavior, Beckley had no other choice. It was either losing everything trying to save him or finally deciding to save herself. Jude Larson knew what he wanted, and from the moment he saw her, she was it. But the demons lurking over his shoulder weren't easy to shake, and they threatened to rip away everything good that she had brought into his world. Join Jude and Beckley as they navigate the challenges of life, love, and the forces that seek to pull them apart. Will they conquer the turbulent aspects of their story, or will they have no other choice but to walk away for good? So, I'm excited to see where the story will take me, and I have a feeling that it will lead to a second book. Stay tuned. But like I said from the beginning, I just wanted to share this, put this out into the world because at the end of the day, I'm telling the universe and myself that I'm taking my writing seriously, no matter what anybody else thinks of it. For our dreams to come true, we have to have faith in them wholeheartedly, wholeheartedly have faith in them. To be able to put them out into the world, we have to be confident in what we create and what we write, because there are so many people out there that want to tear it down. But there's also so many people out there that will love it and appreciate it. And so we have to be confident in every piece of the journey. And so this is just me reiterating that to myself, to my spirit, to my writing, to my creativity, to the universe, to you guys, and to my daughters, like showing them that it's never too late to chase a dream. And again, I know that people could read these books and think, wow, they were shit, or like they had so many plot holes, or I didn't like their character arcs, like whatever, like that's okay. But it's better to have a book you wrote be disliked than to never take the chance of writing it at all, right? Like that's what I'm trying to tell myself. And I don't know, I think I'm just coming to learn that life isn't about getting it right all the time. It's about taking the risk. It's about following what lights you up. It's about never giving up on your dreams because they were born into you for a reason. Vera Wang didn't make a designer dress on her first go around. Brad Pitt's first movie wasn't Oscar worthy. I listened to a TikTok influencer the other day say that she was posting consistently on the app for 5 years before she was able to become successful at it. It requires commitment, consistency, dedication, confidence, the ability to get out of your own way, maybe be a little cringe in the world, allow yourself to fail, allow yourself to learn, allow yourself to put yourself out there and get out of your comfort zone, do something different, because you're going to get it wrong. But you're also going to give it one hell of a try. At least I am. And then someday, maybe it'll all come together. And again, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm sharing this part of my life, my passion, my creativity with you. And so I challenge you, if writing is one of your hobbies, or if you love to read and want to give your girl here some feedback, I'd love to read what you have written or share some chapters with you. Probably very nervously, but I would do it. I would. So reach out. Let's get a little vulnerable. It could be fun. It could be really fun. And to be honest, because I have been writing a little bit more these days, I haven't been reading quite as quickly. So my current reads is only two that I want to chat to you about. And I've also been rewatching Jenny and Georgia. I mean, I wanted to rewatch before I watched season three. I just love that show so much. It's so good. And I love how they handle such heavy topics, but also like make it funny. Anyways, that's my little rant on that. So, sliding into our current reads of the segment, first I want to talk about Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry, because as you guys know, I am her number one fangirl. I mean, she's just fantastic. I just really enjoy her. I really enjoy her writing. And this was my first romantasy novel. And of course, as always, I loved her work. The world building, I feel like this is like new terminology that I'm having to learn with a romantasy novel because I've never read any romantasy or fantasy. So I'm learning a new lingo. But the world building in the first quarter of the book, I like read through a little bit slower, but I think it was because I was like really trying to pay attention so that I could piece it all together. But it was easy to follow, and I got a good understanding of like the laws and treaties and royalty systems that were in place because those were a really important part of the story. And the monsters and magic were also a really big part of the storyline, which I thought was intriguing and easy to visualize. Also, thank you, Instagram, because I was actually able to like look up pictures of these creatures, these monsters that were described in the book. So I thought that was cool because Debney Perry had shared images of that on her Instagram. So as for the fantasy aspect of it all, I really enjoyed that and building all of that in my mind, which was probably the part of me that had me resisting getting into any romantasy because a lot of times when I read, I don't want to work that hard at it. I read at night before bed, and so my brain is shutting down. And I don't want to work that hard at it usually. But with this, so hopefully this is the same for other romantasy novels I can start to dip my toes into. Um, that is kind of my wheelhouse of it not being too complicated, of having to build the world and understand the magic systems. So that is that. And like I said, this book didn't feel like work at all. It was very enjoyable. And so I'm open. I'm open to your romantasy recommendations. And I'm here to make a public statement that Christy, you were right. I can admit when I'm wrong. You were right. The stuff is good. The stuff is good. She now has the book. But she is the one, Christy, my best friend, has been the one that has been trying to get me to read a romantasy novel. And so, like I said, I can admit you were right. It was great. It was fantastic. I was obsessed. And so now she gets to be obsessed with it, and then we can talk about it. I can't wait. All right, I digress. I got I got sidetracked. The tropes in this book were arranged marriage, enemies to lovers, and slow burn. So basically, the FMC Odessa was unexpectedly married off for the sake of an old treaty to Prince Xavier of Tura. As she embarks on this journey to a new world, she finds herself at odds with the prince's right hand man, the Guardian. Through many challenges, run ins with monsters, unexpected twists and turns, the drama runs high between them and the tension even higher. That was my own little synopsis that I wrote. So you're welcome. I feel like this episode is just going to be very dramatic and theatrical because I was so nervous to record it. And that's okay because we don't have to be perfect all the time. You're gonna lighten the mood, be a little off kilter. Okay? Your girl's a little off kilter more than she's on, in case you didn't know. All right. I feel like this is such chaos. I'm so sorry. But I don't want to give too much away about the plot of the story because it's really good. And so you just need to read it and experience it for yourself. But I'm going to share with you what I loved about the characters because I loved Odessa, the FMC's free spirit. I loved the way that she began to grow into herself. Her character arc was phenomenal. I can't wait to see it continue in the next book. She was thrust into this marriage so unexpectedly, but like took the opportunity to really step into a new version of herself. She didn't become a victim to it. And I loved that the MMC, the Guardian, helped her in that, but it also wasn't reliant on him. Like she did the work. She was the one searching and taking the risks and pushing the boundaries and pushed herself to train and get stronger and learn more and find a new way to navigate this new life that she was forced to live. She was able to find glimmers of hope and just see how this life could actually be more than what she had had in her old country, in her old life, and in the old like royalty system that she lived in. I loved the relationship that she created with the people of Tura, even though like they didn't trust her at first, she was able to create some really solid bonds with the people close to her. And I thought that was really cool. After growing up and being very isolated and being very lonely in her own kingdom, it was just nice to see her come into herself in that way and see herself take herself more seriously. And the Guardian really pushed her to stop trying to hide who she was. And speaking of the Guardian, he was like a little bit broody, a little bit moody, but like charismatic as hell. And I appreciated his values for what he did throughout the story and how he protected the ones that he loved. He was kind, but also really tough in a way that like pushed Odessa to be the better version of herself, which I thought was really cool and really great because their chemistry and their banter was top tier, top notch. I love the surprising dynamics of their story. And like I said, without giving too much away, it has really kept me on my toes and constantly begging for more. I literally was late to a 4th of July party because I was like, I'm sorry, guys, I have to stay here and finish my book, and I will be there when I can get there. It's a good thing my friends love me. I rated this book 5 stars and highly recommend it. And you can read it now and join me in impatiently waiting for the next book to drop, which will most likely not be until next year. I'm so sad. Okay, the second book that I want to talk about is one that I listened to on audio, and this was the memoir, The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Honestly, this book broke my heart. Britney Spears was plastered all over my walls and blaring through my stereo as a child. Like, I had every CD, every Barbie, all the merchandise, all the dance routines memorized. And to hear her story, to hear how she lost piece after piece of herself to the world and then to her father and to the conservatorship was just gut wrenching. It was as if she became so traumatized by her fame and her circumstances that she started to revert and regress back into the mentality of a child, which she actually has the self awareness of and talks about in the book. She talked about like the relentless way the paparazzi and the people in her life took advantage of her, medicated her, controlled her, abused her. And just listening to her side of the story, it's awful to hear how lonely she was, how isolated she felt when she was constantly surrounded by people and being controlled by people and having to suffer through her children being taken away from her over and over and over again. And her freedom was stripped away. Like, even before the conservatorship, like, her freedom was beginning to be taken away from her before that, just from the circumstances of her fame and being such a high profile celebrity, as well as being a woman. Like, the way that she talks about and compares the way that she was treated in the tabloids and in interviews and things like that in comparison to Justin Timberlake is sickening. It's sickening. And she was just criticized and demoralized so much for just trying to survive in the world that she had worked so hard to build, but was like constantly thrust against her. And I related to the way that she tried to be what others wanted her to be, and yet like felt like no matter what she did, it was never good enough. I think so many of us do, especially as women, the way that your physical body and appearance becomes like the most important part of what others saw, and how much she felt so much pressure to look a certain way. And like, even though it's turned into a joke now or a meme or whatever, I truly understand why she shaved her head back in 2007, even more so hearing it from her perspective. After all the pressure, all the heartbreak, the postpartum struggles she was going through, anyone would snap. Anyone would snap. Having that much pressure put on you constantly in your face, asking questions, poking the wounds, like the deepest wounds that they possibly can, over and over and over and over again. And it's so sad to see these young celebrities, these young musicians come into this life and to see that happen to them over and over and over again. And then they're blamed for it. Like, they're blamed. And yes, like, they can get help and they are responsible for themselves and their emotional well-beings and things like that. But also at the same time, like in her situation, like there were so many shitty people around her doing such shitty things. And like she even says in the book, she was kind of naive to it all. And she just wanted to believe the best in people. She just wanted to believe in the best in this thing that she had created, this world and this music. And I don't know, it just like reminds me of how people talk so harshly about Justin Bieber now. And you see videos of Amanda Bynes, and it's just, I don't know. it's heartbreaking and it's gut-wrenching. And to see how these people create such beautiful art but can lose their self in the process. Oof. It just it makes me sad that the one thing everyone worshiped her for turned into the one thing that just like tore her world apart. And honestly, like her talent deserved better, and more importantly, she as a human just deserved so much more. I don't know, like this light that she had, this talent and this love for entertaining was just kind of snuffed out by this experience and all of these experiences that led her up to this. The book does end on a high, hopeful note. Um, where she's at now, I'm not sure if it reflects that, but just listening to this story, listening to this book gave me such a different perspective on her life and her experience. And I felt at times just filled with rage for her, but also compassion for the version that we saw on the covers of all of these magazines and news stories. And it really makes you think again how these young people, when they're thrust into life and fame and being a celebrity, like they lose their protection. Like not only can they lose themselves, they lose their protection, their peace, their ability to grow up and be a little bit messy, or their bodies to change, or to not get it right all the time. And I don't know, like I said, like it literally just like physically makes me wince because it was so relatable in some ways and so gut-wrenching in others. And as a fan, if you were a fan of Britney Spears and you want to hear more about the truth behind her story and all of the things that she's been through, I would recommend it to anybody who just wants to see that from a different perspective and how she took the trajectory that she did, and to understand it from the eyes of a girl who just kind of got beat down by the world and by her fame and by her family. So, yeah, again, tough one to listen to. And it was read by Michelle Williams, not by Britney Spears. She does like a brief introduction, but that is it. She says it'd be too hard for her to read it and talk about it, which is understandable, So, sending you love, Britney. You deserve it, girl. All right, friends. That is all for the day. So please remember to follow, subscribe, and leave a rating or review, especially today after this chaotic episode. Come say hi over on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Turn the Page Podcast so you don't miss an episode or any of this beautiful, insightful wisdom. All right, guys, see you next time.